All right, welcome back. Today, talking about adding and subtracting integers. Now, a lot of this you've done before, other than the fact that we're now adding and subtracting integers, meaning we're throwing in those negative numbers. Some of you have got the hang of this already, but others are just kind of seeing this for the first time. So we're going to go slow today. I'm going to actually kind of force you to show me this on a number line, to show me that you understand what's happening behind the math. And then starting tomorrow, you can use whatever shortcuts, hints, tricks you want to solve these problems your own way. So as far today goes, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. We all understand what's going on. So one of the things that we want to talk about really quick, kind of leading into this video, is this definition, additive inverse. We're not going to go into too much detail, but you should have written this definition down already and recognize that an additive inverse is a number that you add so that the result is zero. Or in other words, if we take opposite numbers, if I take the number 5 and I take the number -5, those are opposites. If I add them together, if I do 5 plus a -5, I'm going to end up with 0, which is kind of common sense if you think about it. If you make $5 and you spend $5, you don't have any money left. You're at 0. Okay? So an additive inverse is just the number that you would add to get to 0. So another example, if my first number is 7, my additive inverse is -7. Okay? If my first number is -371, my additive inverse, the number that I would add to this to get to 0, is 371. Okay, so quick definition, just want to make sure that you understand, and it'll hopefully give you some hints and help you out with some of the math as we go the rest of the week. So one thing about math that we want you to remember is that we don't like to use double signs in math, especially at this level. As you get a little bit higher into math, you'll see double signs a lot more often, but right now we actually want to get rid of them. And what I mean by double signs is these examples right here. I've got -8 minus a -5. I don't like that I'm minusing a negative, that there's two negative signs right next to each other. I'm okay if there's a number in between them, but right now there's not, and I don't like that. I also don't like when I'm adding a negative, or in other words, I've got a plus and a minus right next to each other. We're going to show you how to get rid of those today as a kind of our first step in adding and subtracting integers, and then we'll actually do the addition and subtraction. So step one, let's get rid of those double signs right there. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to replace all double negatives. So anywhere you see two negatives right next to each other, and I mean right next to each other. If there was a number in between, that doesn't count. But if there's double negatives, if there's a negative right next to another negative, we can replace all of those double negatives with a plus sign. And that's because subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding. So if we take that example, and we've got it right down here, we've got -8 minus -5. I want to get rid of those double signs right there. So I'm going to rewrite it as -8 plus 5. I can just change those two negatives to a plus sign. Okay? But what about this situation? What about when we have adding a negative number? What we're going to do is we're going to replace all of our plus minus signs, meaning when there's a plus right next to a minus. When we see plus a negative number, we're going to replace those signs with a minus sign. Okay? Because adding negative numbers is the same thing as subtracting. So right here, I've got -8 plus -5. I've got my plus and my minus sign right next to each other. So I can actually change those and rewrite the problem to be -8 minus 5. Which is going to make the math a lot more simple as we get down here below. having those double signs, it just it overcomplicates things. We don't need them there, again, especially at this level. So we're going to get rid of them. Step 3, now that we got rid of the double signs, I've got -8 plus 5, and I have -8 minus 5. And I know some of you can tell me the answer already, but here's how I need you to do it today. I need you to visually show me that you understand what these things mean. So the first thing that we're going to do, step 3 here, as far as actually solving the problem, is we are going to mark the first value on the number line. Now, as I'm talking here, if you need to pause the video to write this down, go ahead and do it. But we're going to mark the first value on the number line, meaning the first number, we're going to put it on our number line. So my first number is -8. And so for this number line, I want to mark -8. And I'm going to mark these in a little bit different place just because of the way I'm going to have to move. But I'm going to say that -8 is right here, which means this is -7, and this is -6, and -5, and -4, and -3, -2, -1, and that puts 0 right about here. I don't want you to have to write in all of the numbers, but I do want to see 0, and I want to see the first number that you start at, okay? So -8, I'm right here, and I kind of bolded this on, and I did that for a reason. Some of you have learned to put the numbers up here above. No, we want it right on top of the number line. So when I say mark the first value on the number line, I want it right there, smack dab in the middle of the number line, not floating up here in the air. I want it right on the line, okay? Now I'm going to do the same thing for the second problem, the -8 minus 5. But because I'm minusing, I'm going to actually shift over this way a little bit. And I'm going to put my -8 right here. And that means this is -7 and this is -6, which means 0 is actually going to be down here somewhere. All right, so I want to mark my first number, that -8. I want to mark it right here on my number line. Okay. Well, and I'm going to write these up above just so we can remember what we're doing with each of these problems, where they came from. So we mark our first value on the number line. Step 2, you kind of saw me do this the other day when we were graphing, but we're going to actually use the plus and the minus sign to move to the appropriate number of spaces, all right? And I'll show you what that means. It might sound a little bit confusing trying to use words. But if we're using a negative, if we're seeing a minus sign, like in this one, we've got -8 minus 5, we're going to move left because minusing moves us left. If there's a positive sign, we're going to move to the right. All right, so we're going to move left for negatives or rights for positive for the second value. All right, so if I look at my top problem here, I've got -8 plus 5. I'm going to take this and I'm going to recreate it right down here. I've got my -8 right here, and I have my 0 right here. And I marked -8, I marked 0. For now, that's good enough. And we're doing -8 plus 5. So my second step is to move left or right. Because I'm adding 5, it tells me that I need to move to the right. So I'm going to move to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's where I'm going to put my next dot. That's where I end. And where I end is actually my answer. You end on your answer. And to find this number, there's a couple of ways I can do it. I can count. This is -8, -7, -6, -5, -4, which means this is -3. So -8 plus 5 actually equals -3. All right, now I'm going to recreate my second problem down here. I marked this one to be -8, which means 0 is over here somewhere. And this problem wanted me to do -8 minus 5. Now, if I'm minusing 5 from this number, that means I'm going left 5, because minus means left. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's where I'm going to end. And now all I've got to do is figure out what this number is. So I have negative 9. This one's negative 10. This is negative 11. This one's negative 12, which means I ended at negative 13. So negative 8 minus 5 is actually negative 13. So I know that's a couple of extra steps for some of you that you don't need to do. You can do it in your head. Today's the only day I'm going to make you do this, but I need to see it. I need to know that you can at least do it this way. And if you find a quicker way, an easier way in the future, great. But for now, I want to make sure that you can do it this way. So we've got some together problems. I'm just going to do these really quick because we're already at 10 minutes. We've got 9 minus 17. There's no double signs, so I don't need to change those. All I need to do is make my number line. And I'm going to put 0 right here, and I'm going to mark 9. And I'm taking away 17. I'm minusing 17, so I'm going to move to the left 17. So I'm going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which gets me to 0. And then I've got to keep going. I've got to move 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I'm minus 17, and this is where I ended. Now I've just got to figure out where that is. And one way to do it is to count. I'm going to do a shortcut. I know that I went down 9, but I had to go 17. So that means that I went 8 more to get to here. Or I can count 1, 2, 3. This is 4, 5, 6, 7. That means this is negative 8. So 9 minus 17 is negative 8. Okay? Negative 14 minus 9. Again, there's no double signs. So I'm just going to draw my number line, and I'm going to start at negative 14. And we'll put 0 right here. And I'm starting at negative 14. That's my first number. And I'm subtracting 9. And subtract means go to the left. So I go to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if this is negative 14, negative 15, negative 16, negative 17, negative 18, negative 19, negative 20, just in case I lose count, negative 21, negative 22, negative 23. So I went down to negative 23. All right. These last two, number 3, negative 4 plus negative 6. We've got that double sign. We've got plus and minus right next to each other. And we learned that we can change that to just negative 4 minus 6. That plus minus can be changed. So now I'm going to draw my number line. I've got 0 right here. I've got negative 4. That's where I start. And now I'm minusing 6. So I go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's negative 5, negative 6, 7, 8, negative 9, negative 10 is where I ended. So negative 4 plus negative 6 is actually negative 10. All right, and then number 4, again, we've got a double sign, minusing a negative. We're going to change that to 9 plus 8 because those two negatives make a positive. So 9 plus 8, and you know what? I know you can do this one in your head, but just to make sure, we're going to do a number line. There's 0, there's 9, and I'm going to start at 9, and I'm adding 8. So I go to the right, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, I'm not going to count them because I know that 9 plus 8 is 17. So I'm not going to actually count each individual one, but my answer is 17. Okay? So on the next page, you've got a couple problems I want you to try on your own. Yes, you have to use the number line, but only today. After today, you're welcome to do this however you want. Good luck.